parties, of course, meeting for the first time in court today. It was about a 90-minute hearing.
This isn't going to end well for you, Blake. Sorry.
In a world where sometimes people judge you before they give you a chance.
I'm just going to tell you, you're going to have to wait and see. It's coming up soon.
Hi, this is Veli. Welcome back to my channel. 90 minutes. That's all it took for JustinBaldoni to secure a significant courtroom victory against Blake Lively, sending her legal team into a frenzy. While this wasn't the final ruling, it was a pivotal moment that set the tone for how the case would proceed. And from the way things were unfolding, the odds weren't looking favorable for Blake. For those who haven't been keeping up, here's a quick recap. Blake Lively filed a staggering $250 million lawsuit against JustinBaldoni, accusing him of serious misconduct. However, Justin wasn't about to back down. Instead, he retaliated with an even larger $400 million counterclaim, alleging extortion and defamation.
Actor-director JustinBaldoni is now suing his former co-star Blake Lively and her husband Ryan Reynolds, seeking more than $400 million in damages, accusing them of defamation and extortion.
And after months of heated disputes, the case had finally made its way to court, setting the stage for one of Hollywood's most intense legal battles in recent history. From the outset, Justin's attorney, Brian Friedman, took an aggressive stance, making it clear he was ready for a fight. His relentless approach left Blake's legal team visibly unsettled, and understandably so. This was the same lawyer who had openly declared his intent to take Blake to court with full force. And based on his courtroom performance, he was making good on that promise. He was fully committed to following through with his plans. So unnerved were Blake's attorneys that they attempted to silence him with a gag order, aiming to prevent any further incendiary public statements. However, the judge swiftly rejected their request, noting that Blake's own legal team had been just as vocal in the media. Restricting Friedman while allowing Blake's side to continue speaking freely would have been entirely unjust, and the judge was unwilling to show favoritism. That ruling marked the first victory of the day for Justin's camp, but matters were about to deteriorate further for Blake. Frustrated, Blake's attorneys argued that Friedman's constant media appearances and interviews were making it nearly impossible for them to formulate responses. Each time they prepared a counter-argument, he had already revealed another piece of information, keeping them in a constant state of reaction. Yet, once again, the judge dismissed their objections outright, reaffirming Friedman's right to publicly discuss the case, another significant setback for Blake. The real turmoil, however, erupted when Blake's legal team realized that JustinBaldoni wasn't limiting this battle to the courtroom. He was also waging it online. Their outrage intensified upon discovering that Justin had launched a dedicated website for the case, intending to publish evidence for the public to see. He was fully committed to following through with his plans. So unnerved were Blake's attorneys that they attempted to silence him with a gag order, aiming to prevent any further incendiary public statements.
A lawyer also brought up the website that was put out this weekend, saying Blake's lawyer also complained about JustinBaldoni's new website dedicated to the case, telling the judge they think this is improper. Brian Friedman, his lawyer, defended this, saying that Blake's team is doing the same thing, citing the New York Times article where Blake first made her sexual harassment claims against Justin. He says the paper only gave Justin 12 hours of notice.
So, if Blake could use the media to tell her side, why couldn't Justin? Friedman made that argument loud and clear, and once again, the judge ruled in Justin's favor. Then came the biggest blow of the day. Blake's lawyers begged the judge to let her choose who would question her during the deposition, clearly hoping to avoid Friedman. But the judge wasn't playing games. He ruled that Blake does not get to choose who deposes her.
Counsel for Miss Lively has made it clear that Miss Lively does not want Mr. Friedman to be the attorney who takes her deposition. We are unaware of any situation that would warrant the deposed party to have a choice in which attorney takes her deposition. Parties to litigation simply do not have the right to decide which of the other opponent's attorneys may or may not take their deposition or perform any other aspects of the opposing party's case. And essentially, the judge agreed and told her lawyer that she does not get to choose who deposes.
However, the judge swiftly rejected their request, noting that Blake's own legal team had been just as vocal in the media. Restricting Fredman while allowing Blake's side to continue speaking freely would have been entirely unjust, and the judge was unwilling to show favoritism. That ruling marked the first victory of the day for Justin's camp, but matters were about to deteriorate further for Blake. Frustrated, Blake's attorneys argued that Fredman's constant media appearances and interviews were making it nearly impossible for them to formulate responses. Each time they prepared a counter-argument, he had already revealed another piece of information, keeping them in a constant state of reaction. Yet, once again, the judge dismissed their objections outright, reaffirming Fredman's right to publicly discuss the case, another significant setback for Blake. The real turmoil, however, erupted when Blake's legal team realized that JustinBaldoni wasn't limiting this battle to the courtroom, he was also waging it online. Their outrage intensified upon discovering that Justin had launched a dedicated website for the case, intending to publish evidence for the public to see, including video footage, legal documents, and messages supporting his claims. They argued that this was highly improper and could unfairly influence public opinion before the trial even progressed. But Fredman wasn't about to let them change the rules to their advantage. He pushed back, reminding the court that Blake had taken her claims to the media first. She had approached the New York Times, giving Justin only 12 hours to respond before they published their critical report on him. He barely had a chance to defend himself before the article was live, causing significant damage to his reputation. If Blake was allowed to use the press to shape the narrative, why shouldn't Justin have the same opportunity? That argument landed with impact, and the judge agreed, ruling once again in Justin's favor. But then came the biggest blow of the day. In a last-ditch effort to regain some control, Blake's lawyers requested that she be allowed to choose who would question her during her deposition, clearly hoping to avoid Fredman himself. However, the judge refused to entertain the request. Without hesitation, he ruled that Blake did not have the right to select her own interrogator. She would have to answer questions from whoever the court assigned, whether she liked it or not. By the time the hearing concluded, it was evident that Justin's side had gained significant ground. Every attempt by Blake's legal team to curb Fredman's efforts had failed. Instead of slowing him down, their actions only gave him more opportunities to strengthen his case.
We're going to move as quickly as we possibly can and prove our innocence in a world where sometimes people judge you before they give you a chance.
Listen to me, Blake Lively. Tap out. Tap out. Call Uncle right now. Please take my advice. I don't feel like I am like Octagon side, the UFC fight, and you're like, oh my gosh, is this guy's neck gonna get snapped? Please just tap out. Be done. Be done with this. Ref, please call Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds out. Just call this out. Because I'm telling you, they are not going.
The legal battle was far from over, but if this initial phase was any indication, Blake was facing a long and arduous fight. The ruling sent shockwaves through Blake Lively's legal team, and their frustration was palpable. They fully understood what it meant. Fredman was closing in, and they had no viable way to stop him. Blake had every reason to be concerned because Brian Fredman was relentless. He wouldn't allow her to sidestep a single question. For those unfamiliar with legal proceedings, a deposition is sworn testimony, meaning every word Blake utters could be used against her in court. There are no scripted PR statements, no lawyer-approved evasions, just direct questioning under oath. The way her legal team had been scrambling to keep her from facing Fredman made one thing clear: she wasn't prepared, not even close. This raises an essential question. If Blake Lively is so confident in her claims, why is she so determined to avoid giving a deposition? If she was telling the truth, wouldn't she want to set the record straight and let the facts speak for themselves? Instead, she and her legal team were doing everything possible to keep Fredman at bay, offering one justification after another. They knew that once she was in that deposition room, there would be no room for spin, no controlled media leaks, no distractions, just the unfiltered truth. But the judge wasn't persuaded. He denied their request, another significant setback for Blake's side. By the time the hearing concluded, the outcome was evident. Justin and his team had prevailed in every single argument. One ruling after another landed in his favor, while Blake's legal team faced repeated losses. And just when they thought the situation couldn't deteriorate further, the judge confirmed that both lawsuits, Blake's $250 million claim and Justin's $400 million counterclaim, would be merged into a single case. This meant there wouldn't be a prolonged back-and-forth legal struggle. Instead, it would be one high-stakes, explosive courtroom battle. The trial was officially set for March 2026, unless a settlement was reached beforehand. But let's be honest, Blake is in a precarious position if this case goes to trial. She has already lost multiple key legal battles before proceedings have even started. If this pattern continues, she could find herself in a courtroom where every piece of evidence Justin has gathered is laid out in full view. This case isn't just about legal arguments, it's also playing out in the court of public opinion. And right now, her once untouchable reputation is beginning to waver. Fans are divided. Some remain steadfast in their support, but others are starting to question her motives. Meanwhile, Justin is methodically compiling every bit of evidence, ensuring he has all the documentation needed to shift the narrative in his favor. The fact that he even launched a website dedicated to the case speaks volumes. Justin isn't just fighting back in court, he's ensuring the world hears his side of the story. It's a strategic move. Blake leveraged the media against him, and now he's using the internet to counter her claims. At this stage, Blake must confront a difficult question. Is it worth continuing this fight? Or should she acknowledge her missteps and move forward before she completely ruins her own standing? If she loses, it won't just be about reputation. She could be liable for $400 million, and that leads us to Ryan Reynolds. Where does he stand in all of this? If Blake loses, it won't just affect her reputation. It could have financial repercussions for both of them. That $400 million sum exceeds their combined net worth, and an unfavorable outcome could leave them in financial turmoil. Perhaps it's time for Blake to reconsider, set aside her pride, and explore a way to settle before she faces complete legal and public defeat. Because right now, it appears JustinBaldoni is positioned to win both in the courtroom and in the public's perception. Should Blake lose this case, the consequences would be dire. A $400 million penalty isn't just a financial hurdle. It's the kind of setback that could derail her career entirely. A loss of this scale isn't just painful, it's devastating. Even with Ryan Reynolds' wealth, a financial hit of this magnitude would leave a lasting impact, not just on their finances, but also on their public image. Hollywood may overlook scandals, but it doesn't forget financial failures. A ruling against Blake could leave her with no viable path back into the industry, but this isn't only about money. If she loses, she sacrifices more than just a fortune. She risks her credibility, influence, and any real chance of being taken seriously in Hollywood again. Hollywood thrives on spectacle, but it also respects power, and right now, that power is shifting in Justin's favor. He's presenting evidence, winning legal battles, and steering the public narrative, while Blake is struggling to keep up. If she continues down this path, she risks becoming a cautionary tale, an A-lister who played too aggressively and lost everything. The consequences of a courtroom defeat wouldn't stop at her career. In Hollywood, reputation is everything, and once it's damaged, rebuilding it is nearly impossible. Studios may hesitate to work with her, brands could distance themselves, and even directors and producers who once admired her may think twice before attaching her to a project to avoid controversy. While redemption stories exist, this isn't just a PR scandal she can casually joke about in an interview years later. If found guilty of defamation and extortion, it won't be a minor career setback. It could be a permanent mark on her record. Meanwhile, Justin continues gaining ground with each legal victory. He isn't just defending himself, he's taking control, and Hollywood gravitates toward a winner. He's systematically dismantling Blake's claims while positioning himself as the wronged party. With every court ruling in his favor, it becomes increasingly difficult for Blake to reshape the narrative. And this legal battle is far from over. More courtroom drama, unexpected turns, and public fallout are inevitable as both sides continue their fight. The stakes couldn't be higher, and the longer this drags on, the worse it looks for Blake. If she doesn't find a way to regain control, or at least mitigate the damage, this could become one of the most significant Hollywood downfalls in recent memory. So stay tuned. This is just the beginning. The situation is still unfolding, and there's no telling just how chaotic it might become.